So anyway, yes, bio breaks before you press record.
Always.
Pro level move. All right, guys. Hey, this is Argent Alpha Unscripted number 2. We kicked off a podcast a couple weeks ago. We had on one of these guys, Clint Murray and J.C. Kaiser. We had special guest Robert Hamilton Owens, and we literally had the idea to start a podcast about 2 days before we just went live, and that's the whole idea behind this thing is unscripted. We're just going to go with raw, unfiltered. What are we thinking about? And Clint, Brock, and I meet every week in something we call the 10X Triad, and it's a mastermind group where we're all having we're applying the concepts of 10X is easier than 2X. It's a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, and we decided let's take the second half of that meeting and just press record and probably talk about what some of the concepts we talked about in our 10X meeting. And so we're going to do that today. This is our first one trying this format out, so no apologies because this is unscripted, unfiltered, and it's raw right to you guys, to whoever's listening out there. So the topic we're talking about today is this whole idea of agency. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing this word agency tossed around quite a bit in social media within Argent Alpha. And I don't know, 2 years ago, I don't know if I'd ever heard the word agency used in a personal sense.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah. So I'm going to read just a quick definition of it, what I have about it. So agency means your capacity to make intentional choices and take actions that shape your own life rather than simply reacting to circumstances or letting others decide it for you. And it's built on 3 key ideas. Self-determination, you believe you can influence outcomes through your own actions. Ownership, you accept responsibility for those actions and their consequences, good or bad. And intentional action, you actively make choices aligned with your goals, values, and desired future instead of drifting or operating on autopilot. So put simply, agency is the belief and practice that you are the primary author of your life. And so when I went through this, a little experience with ChatGPT, I was like, man, this is everything we talk about within Argent Alpha. And so I don't know, what was your guys' reactions to just this whole word agency and how we apply it, how we talk about it?
My mind immediately goes to, you guys have heard me talk about this a lot. My clients are probably sick of hearing me talk about it too, but my morning routine is something that has just become, it's everything to me. It helps me set my day. And something I've been doing for like 15 years, and it's built out to be, I started, just reading, listening to something, jotting things down. I've made it into like mobility and drinking coffee and water and getting all like ready to go for the day. But in the past, I don't know, 3-4 years, it's really taken shape in being my time, my creative space. And I've gotten into writing a ton and really kind of creating the intentional actions that I want to have in my day. It's where I just like I get into that mindset, kind of I call, you guys have all heard flow state before. I could get into that repeatedly, no matter how much sleep I've had the night before, what kind of mood I am in, the environment around me is like I could get into that flow state in my morning routine every single day. And that to me is just like it's been everything. So when you said kind of, the capacity, the freedom to create your own choices, those intentional actions, I mean, those are things that I do and I teach other people to do, other clients, and talk about it all the time. So those are my mind went.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's good, Brock. And it's just an awareness that you do have the choice and you're making that personal decision to take control of your day first thing every day to set yourself up to win. And I hadn't heard of agency either until a couple years ago. I think it was in one of the first Ben Hardy books that I read or that I really, we do have the agency. And I think for me, that made me more aware of it. Like I had to be aware. I kind of had to have that concept, just presented to me so that I was, yeah, the, I do recognize that I have the ability to make my own choices. So yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, and I think one of
Well,
those 3 pillars of is intentional action. And I think when you win the morning, win the day. So Brock, when you're talking about your morning routine, I think that's a great place in terms of guys. If you anybody listens, if you want an action item, and we'll summarize this on the end. But because this is called unscripted, we might forget. But one of the actions you could take is have a morning routine and set your intention for the day. If you just do that, you will dramatically change how your days roll out for you.
Mhm.
Just set the intention. What's going to happen today? What needs to be true to make this a great day? What are the top 3 priorities? There's lots of ways you can frame it, but when you start your day with that, great things are going to happen. If you don't, chances that the world takes over your schedule and you're working for the world, those odds
I
go up dramatically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that I do when working with people on creating their own morning routine is, or thinking of like, okay, what would be ideal? So I have them write down 2 things. So one, do you have anything that you're doing currently? Okay, because we might be able to tack onto that, or habits stack within there. But then, what would be your ideal morning routine? Like if time wasn't a thing, you didn't have to be to work in a half hour. Like what would you want that to be? And then consistency. I mean, that's literally all we talk about in any of the habits and things that we're focusing on. Do one small thing consistently for this week. And, if you could stack onto that next, instead of just like, okay, I don't really have a morning routine, but I'm going to do 2 hours starting tomorrow. It's like, you don't, no, you're not. You might do it for a day, but what is something you can consistently do small and continue to build off of that? I mean, that'll just be a constant thing that you hear from, in what we talk about, that consistency. So.
Yeah, I think that's again, great point, Brock. Like it's the decision to start the day with a win, right? We're going to stack wins, and the consistency just gives us more awareness, and definitely.
Part of the process, Jag, in Argent Alpha, all the guys have heard us talk about future self, having that a clear mind or a clear idea of what your future self looks like. I mean, that in and of itself is agency, right? It's like you are creating or moving in the direction of who you want to be, not who you are now, but like, what is that future self like? There's a lot of agency, personal agency, that happens between now and that future self too. That is, in a sense, what you're creating.
And one of the things too I want for guys to think about is agency. If you think about life happens to me or for me, and so if you're in the to me camp, I got bad genetics. My mom and dad, they had a weight problem. They smoked, they drank, whatever the thing is. That's you giving up your agency. You're giving up your agency to genetics in that case, or habits that came from your parents. And so if you just dissect that, life happens to me or for me. For me is abundance. To me is scarcity. And so you start, what I love about binary thinking is it makes it really clear. You're either playing the hero role or the victim role. You're either in abundance or scarcity.
Yeah.
Life's happening for you or to you. And that plays into Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. And the whole happening to you, scarcity, and victim roles, those are all fixed mindset type of features. Growth mindset is all about abundance, life's happening for you, you're playing the hero role. And we talk about this a lot in Argent Alpha, and it's crazy how these topics really overlap with each other really, really well. They nest together and they complement each other. And so, I don't know, talk a little bit about maybe it's language patterns and the roles you guys see people play, but you can tell a lot about a person by just hearing them talk about, tell me how your last quarters went. Tell me about your health and fitness, and just let them talk, and you'll pick up on, is life happening to them or for them?
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things we see is when people talk about, we ask first, one of the first things, are you on track or off track? And we talk about, are we drifting or not? And without agency, you're automatically in the drift. You're allowing things, you're letting them happen to you. You have the choice. You have to make the decision that this is your choice. Otherwise, you're in an eternal drift, so.
Yeah, great point. You're by definition a victim.
Yeah.
I was at the family gathering. Nobody brought lean protein and organic vegetables, and so I had to be a victim and strap on the feed bag and go to the trough and chow down on all the crappy food.
I mean, in a sort of a way, you could say if you're drifting, you're basically a victim, right? You're being a victim if you're drifting. So
yeah, you're right.
You're not using your agency. So
yeah. No, it's so true. Again, some of these terms, if anybody's taking notes, Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller, awesome book. Mindset by Carol Dweck, awesome book. Be Your Future Self Now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Those 3 books, I mean, and we probably got about 20, 30 of these in our internal Argent Alpha library that men are benefiting from. But those 3 are must reads for anybody looking to take agency of their life, become their future self, and transform whatever they're trying to transform. So those books are key. Hey, one of the things I want to talk about too, when we break down this definition, so we talked about self-determination. You believe you can influence outcomes through your own actions. That's a growth mindset that Carol Dweck talks about. But ownership, you accept responsibility for those actions and their consequences, good or bad. That, my head goes to Jocko Willink and extreme ownership.
Yeah.
And just like when he tells stories about his unit and his guys, whether they screw up or not, it's Jocko's owning it, no matter what. Doesn't matter who's really at fault, he's at fault. He takes ownership for it. Talk a little bit about what you guys do personally, just to kind of put that principle into place, or how do you catch yourself if you find yourself not having ownership?
One thing we talked about recently in this group, and I mean, we've been, this is the highlight of my week, every single week talking to these two, because we come out of here, you fired up, but it's like the catching ourselves and we challenge one another in limiting beliefs or, language patterns, that's just like, you sure you meant that? Just like that. And then being able to we reframe, or, the way that we talk all the time is just like, I think of that all the time. Like if I find myself into, the gap mindset or the victim mindset or the villain, it's just like, I'm so quick to kind of like feel what that is and be like, is this really where I want to be? I know if I'm here, I'm not going to be there tomorrow, or I got to be able to quickly reframe this. And like, how can I reframe that into something that's positive and be the hero? And, I got a lot of people that I talk to on a daily basis. Do I really want to be the victim and villain in front of them, or do I want to be the hero, or even better, the guide, talking to them, calling them up, helping them reframe some of those things, because we all have things that are not going that great in our lives, but being able to reframe that and focus on where you want to go, instead of just letting it kind of living in that constant state of victim.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a great point, Brock. And one of the things that I always say in the experience that I've had in the last almost 3 years now is language patterns. And I used to be able to fuel myself off of some negativity, especially self-talk, right? Just telling myself, you can do better, whatever. Probably a lot worse language in my head than that, but you know what I mean. So, but really, like one of the things that I do notice, and it's been the biggest life changer for me, is really the language patterns and focusing on, no negative. I still do it, and I still have to catch myself. You guys are great role models, Brock. You're beyond your years and in a role model that way, because just being able to notice and then, flipping out of that. And it doesn't take long, but it is definitely a training, that you have to go through with yourself. So,
well, one thing I talk about this quite a bit with people. Every one of us has stuff that's going on upstairs here, and a lot of times it only is flowing through there, and you don't have a chance to unless you actually write it down, you likely aren't going to do anything about it or make any headway on it. You write it down, that's one step. But then, when you speak it out loud, your mind hears it in a different way. You're articulating it. So you're kind of teaching yourself another form of accountability, or another level forward of being able to, break yourself out of whatever you're in. And then, beyond that is like telling it to someone who's actually going to help keep you accountable, and I know both your guys' minds just went to, another thing that we talk about all the time is when you're writing goals, writing it down, you hit it 42% of the time. Being able to speak it out loud, you hit it 65% of the time. You speak it out loud and have someone hold you accountable to it, you hit it 95% of the time. I mean, there's some correlation between those things. So I like getting it out of your head and either writing it down or talking to someone about it is likely going to help, get you some traction and moving forward on being able to break free.
Yeah, just to give a real life example, in our every Monday we have what we call a RAD call, and RAD stands for Recurring Accountability Drivers. And we did an exercise yesterday where it's like, hey, let's just pick some mini goal, let's write it down, let's share it with each other, and then we're going to report on it in a week. So it was a 7-day experiment. And for me, it was I needed to go back to tracking my food intake, and it's crazy. So I wrote it down, I shared it in our Slack channel. And then I used an app to track And it's crazy how this works. My goal was 180 grams of protein yesterday, and I didn't have a caloric goal. I thought I'm just going to let that fall where it would fall. So I hit 215 grams of protein. So just rammed through that target I set, and it wasn't even hard. But if I hadn't set that goal, shared it, and then made the commitment to report back to everybody in a week, there's a chance I might have made it till noon and I would have forgot and it would have drifted and I would have had to start guessing. And so it was a really simple example of this stuff really, really works. And so now you take that to any part of your life. And when you write it down, you share it with someone else and you report on it frequently, like Brock said, we call it the 95% success formula. That you will get there. Like 95% odds, why wouldn't you do that? Yet we also talked about why, we talk only about men, but why do men not do this? It's not hard, not technically hard. There's no technology required. It's because you got to be vulnerable and you got to make a decision and you got to commit. And that's what most people are afraid of doing. And they just don't want, they want to keep options open. They want to hedge their bets. They want to, see what happens. I'm on track. I don't really need to do that. I can do it on my own. It's like, it's all bullshit. It's all absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, you guys, I know you're on the same page as me on this, but just the whole getting it out of your head, ink on paper, not computer. You can do that later. Put it into Google Doc. Ink on paper, your thoughts staring back at you. Then go share it with someone, and then report on it. Like it's next level. I mean, it's 5% short of a guaranteed success.
It's so powerful, Jack. In fact, I posted a little something on Slack the other day, I think about, it was that exact same story. And then we talked about it on Monday morning too. So it's front of mind for all of us, and the power. And like you said, writing it down, there's the power in your own handwriting with your pen on your paper. Powerful. The Slack thing's great too. And I posted mine, and mine was about no scrolling in bed. There's no way I was picking up my phone yesterday when I got in bed after I had just committed publicly to not, and we've all had interaction with so many of our members that, have said that we've either challenged them or they've committed something to us. And they've come back, said, there's no way I was going to do that because I knew I told you, the power is.
Well, what's great about that is it triggers personal integrity too, because when you say it out loud, when you write down, say it out loud and share it with someone, the chances of you not doing it and then looking that guy in the eye and say, yeah, I did it. It's like, no, you're not going to do that. I mean, most guys aren't going to do that. And when you talk about the journal, I mean, we all probably got one of these in front of us right now, writing down this stuff. But man, the personal integrity starts going up. And when you start keeping promises there's Brock's note-filled journal. When you start keeping promises to yourself, again, everything changes, because we're pretty good about keeping promises to our teammates, our business, our clients. But when it comes to yourself, it's like last man in line,
That's where my head was going. You just said it too, is, that's the power of the tribe, right? That's the power of being part of this group. Like, there's no way I'm going to let guys down, and we see it from all the guys we talk to as well. There's no way if they make that commitment, they're going to let the team down. They're going to let their partner down.
But I'm a lone soldier, Clint. I do it all on my own. I mean,
we see that. We see the results in that too.
We see it in this online community. You see it in the gym. Think about when you work out by yourself, opposed to when you work out with even one other person or a group of guys or gals, whatever. It's just like you operate at a different frequency. Your chances of getting better and improving dramatically increase.
Yeah.
So for guys taking notes, another action item is the power of the posse. And so three-legged stool, keep those in mind. Go get two other guys. Because if you're not an Argent Alpha, go create your own little group as a start. Like there's a reason there's three guys in this group. If it was two of us, it would be like, hey, Clint, I can't make it this week. I've got a previously scheduled engagement I'm about to make. It'd be some BS excuse. Three guys, we've only missed a couple in 10 months
almost
now?
A year. Yeah.
And it's been for a legit reason. So it's like again, personal integrity stays high. So go out and create your own three-legged stool, two other guys who are like-minded. And it wouldn't even necessarily have to be a guy. It could be your wife and one of your kids if you wanted to create a three-legged stool. But so first one, Morning routine, set your intentions. Second one, three-legged stool. And then I'd say the third one, this whole idea of the 95% success formula. Write it down, share it, report on it regularly. What else? I mean, those are the three. Those are three common things we talk about repeatedly. And I think as you tune into this podcast, you're going to hear a lot of recurring themes. We'll cover new ground, but so much of the stuff is like, we don't need another new concept. I mean, everything's been created. It's just, you got to figure out what resonates with you and then go do it. Knowing and not doing is not knowing. And so most guys have enough knowledge. They lack in the execution stage. And I know you guys are both like lead by example types, but anything you'd want to add in terms of just the whole, you probably got enough knowledge, get out there and make it happen.
And just do it. Just start. Most people have to have it perfect before they get going. Like the smaller, the better. The thing that you could do 90 to 100% of the time without fail, without having to move mountains to make it happen, that's a perfect place to be. Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to do for the next 7 days, I'm going to do an hour-long workout in the gym. Probably not going to happen. Opposed to like, I'm going to go for a 20-minute walk. Wear a rucksack or whatever. You're far more likely to do that. Same thing with eating or anything like that, like the small, consistent habits. And then, you can always up the intensity and duration, all that stuff over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. And I'm just thinking action beats everything, right? Show me, don't tell me. That's what we need to see, even if it's the smallest consistency over time. But another thought I was having it's kind of touching back on what we talked about earlier, but we all want to be in the hero role and we're all striving for something, but you know what? I think we have to look at it as we're in a guide role too. And that's where that action comes in, right? Everything I do is going to be a guide to somebody. Always be a fifth grader to a second grader, right? And I always want to be that second grader looking up to the fifth grader. I'm chasing guys' taillights all the time. We all are in different areas, but you're also a fifth grader to somebody who's a second grader is how I like to put it. So be the guide too. No matter what if we're a hero and a guide, you're just winning, so.
Yeah. And I think again, a good litmus test is if you find yourself coming up with all the reasons why you're busy and that's not for me, those are examples of life happening to you and you're slipping into probably a villain mode. You're self-sabotaging before you even start. Mm-hmm. Reframe it. What needs to be true for me to get to the gym 3 times a week, to eat a high quality food and get away from processed foods, to have a sleep strategy, to get to bed consistently at the same time every night. There's so many simple ways, but you got to imagine how it can happen. So I think that's the first place when you're taking agency over your life is you got to get into what needs to be true for me to do something positive for yourself versus manufacturing excuses. And sometimes these excuses are real. Like if your spouse doesn't align with you on these things and she's cooking, Italian pasta, sauces and every night, you're going to have to make a choice. You love your wife, but you need to make some changes. And so you exercise agency. There's a way to do it if you decide you want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. That decision. The agency, influencing the world around you. Think about why we're starting this podcast. We want to be able to influence others and give some other people insight on some things they could do to change their lives. I think back to, I was talking to Jag about this a couple of weeks ago, and I think Clint, I can't remember if you're there or not, but I listened to the Kelsey brothers' first podcast. I think it was I watched it on TV, and they were talking about it, and they go, I can't remember what it's called, Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey. And they're like, you know what, this is our first time. I don't know if it was very good. In fact, I think it was pretty bad. But what I can promise you guys is that we're going to get better. And I think that's the same thing here is just like, we're going to continue to get better. And I'm theming that as our podcast agency here.
Always be a beginner, right? Always. We talked about that earlier. That's something.
We're checking that box big time. But what's funny? Like what's great is just us doing this podcast and riffing on some concepts that we have some passion about. One, that act alone makes us better. Two, we're putting it out in the world and saying, yeah, this might impact somebody. It will. There's going to be one person that listens to this that's probably going to do a direct message to one of us. And by the way, this is like in a concert where we recognize the guy on bass guitar and drums. So Clint Murray is a member of Argent Alpha and a coach. Brock is he's under 50, but he's our strength coach. He coaches our guys. He has hands on well over a dozen men over 50. So you know our membership really, really well. And I'm Scott Jagodzinski. I'm the founder of Argent Alpha. And so we're going to keep doing this podcast each week. And whether you like it or not, we hope you do. But the objective isn't to please anybody. This is our little forum to get ideas out of our heads and onto the record. And the idea is it's going to help somebody. So any parting words, guys, before we sign off for the week?
I want to be the lead guitarist in that, by the way.
It's yours. Clint, yeah, I'm guessing it's a physical role, the drummer. You're well suited for the drummer. Probably.
There you go. Yeah, I'll take the drums.
Cool, and I'll be the stagehand. I got stage fright. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Clint. St. Brock.
See you guys.
See you guys.
See ya.